Welcome to Thursday on the AM show. And in our Ghana month, we started with a Joy Explore as we took you out and about for another beautiful morning. But let's get into the details, what you can expect for the rest of the show now. Shortly, I'll be serving you the news. And right after that, we'll be joined by Ernest Ayesu, a mining engineer. He'll be joining us to review the newspapers. But do you know any impact maker in our country? Do you know someone who is shaping lives, turning lives around, who is making a very positive impact on society? Well, impact makers is something started by the Multimedia Group to reward just such people. Today we'll be having a conversation on that as we celebrate, or at least we plan to celebrate some of those bright stars in our country making a positive change. Right after that, we get into our big stories, and first off, we're going to be contemplating SONA 2023. Mr. President delivered, but what he said was the state of the nation wasn't a true reflection. Parliamentarians have been debating that. We've heard from Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin. Well, today we'll be taking more thoughts on that specific matter as we host our guests. But then from there, we'll take you to the Ashanti region, Kumasi to be specific. I'm sure you followed the news. The Ketia market went up in flames yesterday. Disastrous considering how much has been pumped into that enterprise. Well, today on Citizens Microphone, we'll be going to that part of the country to get our brothers and sisters to share their thoughts on what exactly has happened. And right after that, we're going to be talking about the domestic debt exchange program. Not us in the studio, but it's going to be the Graphics Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting. And they are going to be talking about the domestic debt exchange lessons and implications for how you invest. We'll be there, and we hope you join us so that you can be there too, even if in spirit. Also coming up this morning, the Alliance for Women in Media Africa will be joining us for breakfast to discuss their upcoming event. The other day you heard me interacting with Shamima Muslim. Well, today they'll be descending on us in the studio as we dig further into this cause. But finally coming up on the show, we'll be bringing you that live feed of the Mobile Technology for Development Conference. And guess who's the keynote speaker? The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. So as you can see, it's a very packed show, from technology to impact makers to SONA 2023 to the Ketia market that went up in flames. You don't want to miss a beat. So stay with us and share your thoughts as well. Let's stay tuned for the news up next.
Mineral water, you brew bottles, and in your we are doing something for noodles. I order machines nearby. But where do we get the working capital? The promise is now upon that, and I feel say a bit boy into empire who shame no. Sometimes,
We are doing well, not too well as expected, but because most of the companies are not completed. So we are still in the process of getting all of them through. But the good news is that we are sure at the end of our tenure, we'll be able to achieve this feat.
Thank you for staying with us for the news. We go to the Ashanti region for our very first story. And the Ketia market in Kumasi has been shut temporarily to assess the extent of damage caused by Wednesday's fire. Some shops on the first and second floors of the market were burnt in the inferno. The National Disaster Management Organization says there is no record yet of injuries or fatalities. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
It is alleged the fire started from a shop at a section of the market where combustibles are sold. Traders made attempts to stop the spread but were unsuccessful. According to the Ashanti Regional Director of NADMO, Frank Diodu, some materials exploded as the fire raged.
There was a fire incident which had burnt quite a number of shops, which is not that much though to say. But the fire started from one shop and spread to the other shops. The very area that began the fire are areas where we find items being sold at cupboard, what do we call it, tapping tank, catapults, which are all prone to fire. So when it started from one end, we got to the ground, we got to know they tried to put the situation down, but it got out of hand before they could call fire. There were explosions and all that, which we are yet together with fire to investigate, to know how the explosion came by.
Several fire tenders arrived at the scene to douse the flame. The security services and some traders aided the rescue of people trapped in the facility. Cranes of the construction firm contractor came in handy for the rescue efforts. An eyewitness narrates.
Every third floor over down. And the third floor over down.
Until the contractors brought their cranes, they had tied a cloth from the third floor. With that, some people were descending from the top. A woman tripped, but the police were able to catch her. But for them, she would have died.
And of course, the band to second floor. Mammy gets over second floor. Was it to me? I saw a pan first floor, third floor, a pan floor. I can police for now. And a police guy on my orphan NS, Sefredo. I dear Papa, can you know police for Nick Segasena? I come Amino.
The Kejetia market has since been cordoned as security personnel patrol the enclave. Mr. Diodu says the fire service and other security agencies are expected to be in the market on Thursday to start investigations.
There has been a small discussion with management of the market. We've urged them to put out a publication out there. Activities for tomorrow at the market could not be carried out at the early hours of tomorrow. They are yet to come out, which we are recommending close to the midday. And even if the shops are open, we do also recommend that they will be closed up, then people will leave for proper works to be carried out so that the other side that were not affected could get light. But for the meantime, I'm not sure business activities could be carried out very early in the morning.
The market, which was redeveloped in 2017, is the biggest trading center in the Ashanti region with over 10,000 stores. The first phase of the project costs the government $298 million. For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
Well, human as we are, we sometimes forget and leave appliances on the extension board. This can result in fire outbreaks leading to the loss of property. But what if we had the ability to control our extension boards remotely? That is what 3 students from the Computer Engineering Department of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology have done. On Tech Thursday, Love FM's Kwesi Deborah speaks to the brains behind this latest innovation.
Extension board is controlled. Developed an app for this purpose. This board has a current sensor to know how much users are consuming at a point in time.
Okay, so this is an IoT device, an IoT extension board. It is basically supposed to give a user or a consumer the ability to control his or her extension boards remotely. Most of the time, as people, we leave our houses and sometimes we forget that we left sockets on, we left devices connected to sockets not turned off. So you can't come back and then come and turn it off. Maybe you may be busy at work or something. So having a device such as this will give you the opportunity to turn it off remotely via an app that we have as a counterpart to the device. So how it works is it uses 4 relay modules to control each of the sockets. We have linked one of the relay modules to the bulb so that when we turn it on, users can see that yes, it's really working. Okay, and then it also has a current sensor. Now the current sensor feeds information to the app so that the user can know how much power or how much energy they are consuming at every point in time. So those are basically the components that make up and then also a fuse to protect it from surges and overcurrents.
So we have the SmartX, we have a manual override, and we have a mobile app. So the manual override is when you are close to your extension board and you don't have your phone around and you just want to use it as an ordinary extension board. So that you can have, we have these switches to control the turn on and off of the various components of the extension board. So you can see as I turn them on, the various components goes off, and as I turn them on, they go on as well. But if you are far away and you want to control your extension board, if you forgot to do something with your extension board, you can actually turn them off and on.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, the founder of Health Resource Partners, Brittany Farrell, has brought smiles and relief to residents of Tongozakwe in the Laura municipality following the construction and equipping of a maternity block for them. Brittany Farrell, over a decade ago, used to work as a Peace Corps volunteer in that area. She contracted malaria on 3 occasions and struggled to get treatment for it. Rafiq Salam reports that Brittany's struggles in fighting the disease have forced her to pursue public health to enable her bring the needed resources to people for them to have access to quality health care.
The Tongozakwe communities may have been proud to be among the 4 to 5 communities in the Laura municipality to own a CHIPS compound. Looking at a beautiful edifice, one will have the feeling that it can take care of all immediate health needs of the people. One important component is however missing. There is no maternity unit at the CHIPS compound. Women who are in labor or want to have access to antenatal or prenatal services has to do it elsewhere at a higher cost and risk. Members of the twin community, deeply concerned about the issue, mobilized to put up this structure to serve as their delivery room. They didn't stop at that, according to Assembly member of the area, Alexis Saumberry, who is also co-opted member of the Health Committee. A proposal was then written to a non-governmental organization, Health Resource Partners, which was accepted, but with a conditionality.
The community contribute anything labor, while Health Resource Partners take full cost of the material needed to put up this building. That we oblige as a community. We did our bit till finally the structure was raised and completed. Still in the same vein, we met to evaluate, and we realized that a structure without equipment would not still achieve the purpose. And so we drafted another proposal through the Municipal Director of Health Services to Health Resource Partners again, to help provide us a source of lighting at night. In our area, most women give birth during the night. And also to give us the necessary equipment needed to operate the maternity block. Fortunately, again, that proposal was approved.
Founder and president of the board of Health Resource Partners, Brittany Farrell, in 2010, worked at the Ermon Senior High School in the Denlora district as a Peace Corps volunteer. She recalled with nostalgia her struggle of fighting malaria during her 2-year stint at Ermon, which has motivated her to set up Health Resource Partners.
During that time, unfortunately, I fell ill with malaria 3 times in the 2 years that I was here. And I struggled to get access to resources, and I just had to sit at my house and drink some local tea and try to get better. Thankfully, I recovered. And after my time here in the Laura district, I went to study public health. And I wanted to bring access to people so that they could have the resources they needed to help themselves in the community, like your great community here.
The maternity block is also a memory of a late father who was a physician.
I also wanted to honor my late father, Dr. Bruce Farrell. He was a physician in America, and he helped so many people. Unfortunately, he passed when I was only 14 years old. So I'm very honored that the community allowed me to build this clinic, to bring new life to Ghana, because my father is late, and so it's an honor for his name, Dr. Bruce Farrell, Center for New Life, to be represented here on this maternity block in Tongo Zakpi.
APAWA's Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Puwiri, commended Health Resource Partners for the initiative and enumerated the benefits that the people will derive from it.
The pregnant women will now spend less in coming here for your checkups. If you have to spend up to 10 cedis to get transportation to Laura, now you can easily just walk here and save that 10 cedis on transport so that you can be examined and given all the needed services here. And when it is beyond the level of the staff here, they will facilitate your movement to the next level without difficulty.
Mind you, there's even a bylaw that frowns on women giving birth at home during labor that are either transported on motorcanes or motorbikes to the Laura Municipal Hospital for delivery, sometimes on foot. Babana Patricia is excited that with the commissioning of the maternity block, it will be easier to access health care.
We used to suffer anytime we were pregnant. We have to either walk or to be transported to Laura for antenatal services. You have to do this until you deliver. You can't also deliver at home. You will be fined 100 Ghana cedis if you do so. But with the new maternity block close to us, our sufferings are over.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam, Tongo Zakpe.
In our next story, a member of parliament hopeful, Raphael Koda, has promised to help restore the hopes of the constituents of the people of Ho Central in the Volta region. He outlined development, wealth creation, economic independence, and reviving the National Democratic Congress in the constituency as his primary objectives. Addressing the press in Ho, Mr. Koda said he was the best candidate in the Ho Central constituency to lead John Mahama's restoration agenda.
Following the announcement of Benjamin Akakpo's retirement from Parliament, some individuals have expressed interest in representing Ho Central constituency. Raphael Koda, a mechanical engineer, is one of such individuals who had submitted forms to contest the National Democratic Congress parliamentary primaries.
We have 5 boys. I'm the first child of my mom and the 8th of my dad. But every time that the opportunity comes for politics, I remember 1992, DM by Jejeva Ajidomen Assembly came for me. My mommy took me there. We closed from school. She came to pick me, and we went to meet. That was when the journey of politics all began. And growing up, being a leader, I have I've got opportunity to actually be in various leadership roles, and politics is something that I've never run away from.
With his engineering background and being a problem solver, Mr. Koda said he has assessed the constituency where he was nurtured, hence designed a comprehensive plan to guide the development of the constituency during his tenure. He said he would focus on economic independence, among others, to restore the hope of constituents in the NDC.
I have been a mining engineer for the past 12 years, by the grace of God. We need a visionary, somebody who believes in tomorrow, not now. I stand for growth. I stand for development. I stand for diversity and inclusion.
Now, on our final story, religious tourism, which has the potential of contributing to foreign exchange, is one of the underexploited sectors in Ghana. Though the country has diverse religious and traditional values which could attract tourists from across the world, very little has been done to harness the potential of the sector. As part of the Ghana Month series, JoyNews' Fred Kwame Asari spotlights the Kunde religion, a religion that incorporates Christianity and traditional religion and shies away from doing evil.
According to history, the Kunde religion, also known as Goro Vidu, is an anti-witchcraft movement that emerged during the colonial period. The Kunde gods is said to originate from Kandeau, southwest of Wa on the Burkina Faso border, where it was linked to the local high gods, Chale. In a quest to find a solution to the consecutive deaths of 3 installed chiefs in Kpando and an epidemic, an entourage traveled up north and acquired the Kunde gods.
Mama Seydou gave the god to the man called Kojokuma Anibra. Yes. Because the god rejected all the elders. The young man, the teenage guy who followed them, because he could speak Hausa and other northern languages, he went with them. And the god decided to come with him. So he came under his care.
History has it that the pandemic ended and the people of Kpando experienced good fortune after Kojokuma set up a shrine for Kunde in the community. The new chief lived long as well.
Kpando bought it with because it was saving people from evil spirits, from witchcraft, from things that people do within the community to harm others. Yes, so Kunde came here to save all of us.
This led to the establishment of the Lahari Kunde mission in 1960. The religion incorporates practices and ritual objects from Islam, Christianity, and local voodoo orders. Believers are guided by the 10 commandments in the Bible. Kunde, I was told, does not like evil and cannot be used to harm anyone. A believer who attempts to use Kunde for evil will be punished by the gods. A descendant of Kojokuma, Kosi Kokokli Anibra, is the spiritual leader of the Lahari Kunde mission. Brekete, Agbaja, and Adehu are performed during worship and other gatherings. Some believers often get possessed during performances. The religion, which suffered oppression from both Christians and traditionalists in the colonial era in Ghana, was accepted and is widespread in Togo, Benin, and other parts of the world, with Kpando being its ancestral homes.
It got to a point in Kpando, the people said they didn't need a god anymore. So he took it out to the south, and in the south, they bought into it. That is how it got spread to other countries.
Akpinifia, Tokbegan Dagadu, lamented the dying interest of natives in the religion, hence risked losing its ownership.
Into Independence Day, Bobo Kodoko over Yamebuwe, Omiabete Minyafi Bobo Cho, Yafonua do ole do le miakwasi me. mia nai ekiche hindedu ya chela jole mi asia ni mele kunde subo ki lime no lauda sise de we.
On that note of Kunde, a fusion of Christianity and traditional religion, we cap off the news. But stay with us, the news review up next. Here I am, there you are watching me. Thank you for staying with us. Time now for us to get into the papers, and we're joined by mining engineer Ernest Ayesu. He joins us. He is our guest for the review this morning. But right before we get into that, just so you know, this segment is brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And what are they offering? Free prostate screening, free female fertility screening as well. And you can locate us across the country. So let's start with Accra. Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. That's where you can find us in Kumasi, Kronum, Abuehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. In Takoradi Anaji Estate in Tema, Community 22 is where you can find us. We're also in Techima and Hansua and Esiama and Zima. Now, if you'd like to call us, this is how you can reach us on the following numbers: 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Well, we're joined by Ernest Ayesu, and he is our guest this morning as we get into the newspaper review. He's a mining engineer. Ernest, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Benjamin. Good morning to you and your viewers as well, and our constituents at the Sunyan West.
Right. Over the last week, we've had quite a number of stories, happenings. Is there any particular one that struck you, that really got your attention, that you'd like to maybe touch on? I mean, I think between the last time we spoke and today, we've had the Sona. Yesterday, we had that unfortunate incident of the KTR market going up in flames, among a number of things that have happened. Anyone that got your attention?
I will still dwell on the Sona, having missed out on the update on Agenda 111. Access to healthcare is a bit of a concern to me because looking at my constituents. It's one area I would also want to probably in the future push for access to a better healthcare system. So missing on Agenda 111, which is a post-COVID flagship promise or program by the administration, having to be missed was one that I feel was a bit of a crucial to me. But there was no update where we've gotten to, how many have been completed. Which ones are various stages of completion. All those updates had been given. We later saw social media being awash with images of completed, ongoing structures of these facilities purported to be the Agenda 111, which I feel was very unfortunate.
Right. Well, let's get into the newspapers now. We'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. And danger looms at Pantang Hospital. It appears we leave everything to just go rot, just go rotten, just fall apart. What kind of culture is this? I mean, before I get into it, it's crazy. Our maintenance, and especially it points to the fact that we don't take mental health seriously in this country. Not one bit. Not one bit.
Yes.
So hundreds of... Yes. I just wanted to say that before I get into the story. I will allow you to come in right after I at least read what the story has. But danger looms at Pantang Hospital. Hundreds of squatters occupy perilous structures. And if you can see a shot of the newspaper, you would just see the aluminium sheets, Just look at that. One of the deteriorated buildings earmarked for demolition, but being occupied by some squatters and staff of the hospital. How can we even expect people to live in a place like this? Well, per the story put together by McLean Kofi of the Daily Graphic, about 1,000 squatters occupying uncompleted, dilapidated buildings at the Pantang Hospital in Accra risk their lives living in those structures which have been declared unsafe for occupancy. Constructed in the 1960s, a little after independence. The 27 structures, made up of 7 three-story apartments for senior staff, 9 bungalows for doctors, and 11 separate medical wards, were declared unsafe after a structural integrity survey commissioned by the Ministry of Health in July 2021. The structures were originally envisaged for the expansion of the hospital, but that did not materialize. Rather, hospital staff, nursing students, and other residents of the hospital community have been using the ramshackle structures as dwelling places against warnings by the government and the hospital management for them to vacate the buildings. Information gathered by the Daily Graphic at the Ministry of Health indicated that the survey recommended the demolition of the structures as a better option than rehabilitation from a cost and structural competence point of view. However, the structures are still in active use in spite of the danger they pose to lives and property at the hospital, nearly a year and a half after the survey was conducted. I have a number of questions before you come in, Ernest. Who conducted the survey? If the survey said that demolition was the next step, why is this building still erect? We say the doctors, other hospital staff should get out of that place. But where would you have them go? I'm sure if they had options, if you had given them a better facility, they wouldn't be inhabiting this one. And fourth, are we waiting till disaster strikes and we have a shortage of medical doctors already, and a lot of them are leaving the country. Are we waiting till the unfortunate happens? Then some minister will come, the health minister. What's he doing about the situation? Then some ministers will come. Oh, and it's a sad incident, and it's unfortunate that then the right thing will be done. Why can't we do it before disaster strikes? What a country. Ernest, over to you. Maybe you can understand better.
I think I will agree with your frustration. It's a bit sad how, as a country, we have not really paid attention to mental health. Already, the sector is battling inadequate mental health professionals. Now, here's the case: we are now challenged with inadequate infrastructure. Looking at how medical facilities ought to be, or the health facilities ought to be, the design and how these facilities have been constructed is also enough therapy to have patients, the rehabilitation of patients much faster. So when you have conditions like this, how then do you expect the health professionals to give their 100%? And also patients to get well? And as I'm saying, it shows the priorities we've set for ourselves and how we have pushed mental health into the back burner. And this has been always hit on by those in the mental health area. They've always come to government to demand a lot of attention, logistics, and enough personnel to have the sector improve. Other than that, excuse me to say, we would have a lot of cases of mental issues go up in the country. It's a bit sad.
Well, in other stories, gold for oil policy, $4.8 billion to be saved yearly. I have a question, though, and this is not necessarily for you, Ernest. So that ship that had been at dock, supposedly from Russia for quite a while now, have we found ownership of it? And who has taken stock of the oil and all of that? Because Bloomberg tracked it and made mention of where its origins were, and all of a sudden it's been there for a while. Well, if we did get it from whether Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan or Russia, we might as well take stock of it. There's also Wire confirms timetable, WASI in July, September, BCE in August, and there's also personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service fighting the fire that engulfed the Ketia market in Kumasi, part of $259 million Ketia market gutted by fire. That story is on page 35. Let's take a look at it before we look at some international news, or maybe go to the story about gold for oil and then come to some international news. So, parts of the Ketia market, one of the monumental projects in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, were yesterday engulfed in fire, which burnt wares estimated at millions of Ghana cedis. Always millions of Ghana cedis. Well, there were no casualties as of press time yesterday, but a few people collapsed due to suffocation and were rushed to hospital. The fire is said to have started from a store on the second floor of the market around 4 p.m. and extended to the third floor. Many traders wailed uncontrollably as thick black smoke from the burning stores in the magnificent market drifted into the afternoon sky. As of press time, there was no official communication on the cause of the fire, but eyewitnesses said they suspected an electrical fault. Now, they said the fire spread in no time due to the combustible materials on the floor where it had started. Items such as carbide, plastic, sewing materials, body spray, and perfumes are sold at that section of the market. It took firefighters from the Ghana National Fire Service a hectic time to put out the fire. I have to ask, with all of these things happening from time to time, do we ever probe arson? Arson, I said it. Arson, deliberate. Because it boggles my mind how time and again, I alone, I think I've covered about 2 or 3 of these fire incidents. Odona, Kantamanto, and other places. Every year. I think we could also have a bet like that. You see how that Canadian was betting that every year Accra would flood. I suppose if someone put in a bet that every year there would be at least one fire outbreak in a big market in Ghana, that person would win every year. It makes no sense, and especially considering how much was pumped into this Ketia market. I find it absolutely, because the measures must be put in place. Ernest?
Yes, it's rather unfortunate we are here once again discussing fires in our big markets. You know, Ketia is a very big market considering the West African sub-region, and looking at the amount of investments that has been put together, it makes the situation rather unfortunate. I'm looking at segregation of materials. Actually, the section that got burnt was supposed to house car tires, automobile products. And also, we are hearing now that there was carbide in the area. You just mentioned there are sprays and perfumes all being sold. So I'm wondering why we have all these explosive materials, if I may put it that way, all in one area. You know, we in the mines, we take fires very, very, very seriously because of the dangers it poses. Even before you get burned by the heat, already you are asphyxiated by the thick dark smoke. And we need as a country to invest in our assessment of some of these markets and education as well, because what is the fire service and the energy commission doing when it comes to auditing? Are we checking the kind of appliances our market people, market women and men are using for their daily stuff, the radios, the irons, the cooking stuff? Are we actually conducting quarterly assessments on them to see if they are worthy and they all need to be operated? Because these fires might have even been triggered by some electrical faults, which might have then got in contact with other substances. Now we are getting details, a bit of detail, though we are waiting on the fire service to come out with the final report, but we are getting a bit of details from eyewitnesses that this started as a small fire, got in contact with some carbide, and the explosion began. Now ties are very are materials that burn seriously when they come in contact with the closest amount of heat. And as a country, we need to be putting officers in charge of these multi-million-dollar facilities to ensure they are maintained. Thank God that the materials that were used in the construction of the market is one that could withstand fires like this. Other than that, if it was the usual brick and mortar and wood materials, I mean, we would have lost a substantial part of this $259 million project.
There's also gold for oil policy, that's on page 16. $4.8 billion to be saved yearly. That's according to Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, Vice President. And the country will save about $4.8 billion in foreign exchange every year as one of the benefits from the gold for oil policy, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has said. He said the most important aspect of the policy was not just the reduction in fuel prices, but the savings the Bank of Ghana would make in foreign exchange as a result of lower demand. This has been contested by, I have engaged the former head of the PIAC, the Public Interest and Accountability Commission or Committee, Dr. Steve Mantea. We've spoken to energy people. They have said that not really, not so. Let's hasten slowly. But this is what the administration is telling us. I know you're a mining engineer. Maybe you'd have interest in that. But let me just bring some international stories our way. Blinken, the top American diplomat in Ethiopia to boost U.S.-Africa engagement. That is Secretary of State Blinken, Anthony Blinken. And then Guinea opposition government resume contact. Guinea's opposition resumed contact with the military-dominated government yesterday after months of no dialogue, raising fears of rising tensions. That will be it for the Daily Graphic. Your thoughts on gold for oil?
Yes, being an engineer in the precious mineral mining space, anytime some of these things come up, I'd want to put in a comment or two. This gold for oil program or policy is not a usual feature economies get into. There should be a problem challenges facing the economy to go into such arrangements. Most recent, or this came to light when we had Iran accepting or welcoming gold as purchase for its oil due to US sanctions. So it's not one feature that usually gets involved into. But then saving 4.8 billion annually, I'm full. I don't have the
I mean, if that proves to be true, that would be good. After all, we're going to the IMF for a paltry $3 billion.
Yes, it's good, but it shouldn't be a usual feature of the economy, of the administration of the government. But we should look at shoring up our foreign exchange reserves other than putting out raw gold in exchange for oil. I don't know how far we'll go with that, but then all this has been as a result of the fact that we don't have the necessary foreign exchange reserves. And we also need to look at elsewhere. Other than that, as the finance minister said, we need to also hold the education of the city. When was the last time we borrowed as a country? This was way back somewhere around June last year. And not borrowing means we are not getting inflow of, because we've locked out of the capital market, we are not getting inflow of foreign exchange reserves to support our budget or make available some foreign exchange for us. So definitely, the best option would be to trade in our gold for oil to slow down the pressure on the city. It's good, but I don't think it's one that we should be looking up to for the coming years. We should work around the clock, ensure we have a lot of dollar reserves as a country to rely on. Currently, if you look at countries with a lot of dollar reserves are doing well with those most are top there than those having the gold reserves. So yes, you might see United States, right? They are the owners of the dollar currency. But then looking at countries like China, Japan, they also hold substantial amount of dollar reserves, and it's working well.
Let's quickly go to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Some interesting stories we're going to look at very quickly. WASI registration malpractices. WAEC bars 5 senior high schools for charging unapproved fees. Related to education as well, Education Minister has no power to close down schools. That's the NAT head, leadership saying that. That story is on page 13. And of course, we know that he said that some of these institutions that are producing 10% or less in terms of pass rates may be shut down. And NAT, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, is saying the Education Minister has no such powers. Engineering work on expansion of Weja water treatment plant complete, and Ghana requires $30 billion to develop nationwide railway network. That's according to the GRDA CEO. Let me focus on the stories on education, and you can quickly reflect on any others that catch your attention. So, The West African Examination Council has barred 5 senior high schools from registering candidates for this year's West African Senior High School Certificate Examination for charging unapproved fees. The affected schools are Only Star Senior High or Technical School, Abesim, Gateway SHS and Lawrence SHS, both in Sunyani, First Class SHS, Achimota, Accra, and Martin Luther SHS in Kintampo. They are said to have, quote, commercialized the registration process, putting out banners and charging prospective candidates between 1,200 and 6,750 Ghana cedis with a promise of good grades instead of the approved fee of 381.24 Ghana cedis. There's also this one. The Ghana National Association of Teachers has stated that the Minister of Education, Dr. Yawase Duchum, does not have the power to close down any pre-tertiary institution. According to the association, the relevant provisions of the Pre-Tertiary Education Act made it clear that the management of the pre-tertiary school system was the onus of the district and regional directorates of education. That's why they are saying the education minister has no power to go down that road. Any quick thoughts?
Seems our problems
endless, huh?
Yes. Concerning this white issue, as we discussed with floods and fires, this is also a feature we ought to put an end to. It doesn't make our SHS much more credible with candidates coming out from these institutions with the qualifications. It doesn't really make them credible, and the education ministry and together with the education service should ensure that these things are taken off our system. It doesn't speak well of us.
Well, Daily Guide now, and we're wrapping up in some 2 minutes. NDC MP goofs over national award symbol. I'm talking about the Member of Parliament for South Dai in the Volta region, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamakpo, my own good friend, but this time he seems to have erred because he was talking about, he posted on social media about the national awards that were recently given out by His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, which had an elephant on the rear. And he said, well, now even national events like this are riddled with partisan politics, so to speak. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, that's not exactly what he said. But this symbol has actually been used since the days of the First Republic. It just coincides with the fact that a party with an elephant as its symbol is now in power, and he's been taking on. That story is on page 6 of the paper. Let me quickly get there for a brief look. So the Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamakpo, has been exposed following his comment on the awards and medals that were given to some deserving Ghanaians by President Akufo-Addo on Tuesday, March 14. He actually posted, today this government has made the elephant, the political symbol of the MPP, our national symbol, so much that it sits on medals being awarded at a state event. Even Dr. Kwame Nkrumah didn't change our national symbols to reflect the CPP cockerel when he declared a one-party state. Sad. But of course, checks reveal that this isn't the case and that this has always been used. Kennedy floors Anas in 25 million Ghana cedi suit, corrupt terrorist. And that was the ruling of the court. We had a statement from Tiger Eye PI saying it was shocked by this stance, especially as it had accepted on certain grounds that Anas had been defamed, and yet the turnaround. We'll see how that matter turns out, whether Tiger IPI and Anas will pursue the matter further at a higher court. Henry Quartey grabs Volta order. I'm talking about the Greater Accra Regional Minister, also Member of Parliament for Ayawaso Central. And no more collation system crashes, Dufour tells NDC. Any of these stories you'd like to reflect on, Ernest?
Yes, I think Henry Quartey deserves a lot. Looking at his contribution to the Accra we are seeing now, I think he deserves it. Now with the elephant, as a country, the elephant has been a pre-colonial symbol from tradition coming into government, and it's part of our symbol. So I think my senior colleague or my senior member of the NDC actually had this wrong. It has always been part of us, but it's not necessarily an MPP. Yes, it's an MPP thing, but it has been part of us as a people and as a country for years now.
Just to wrap, we have to go, Ernest, but business finders support vegetable producers, Ghanaian exporters appeal to government, bridge development gap, U.S. envoy says, and we've ensured stability across downstream sector. That's according to the CEO of the NPA, Dr. Mustafa Hamid. We also have the Daily Statesman, fuel prices to further decline, gold for oil policy working. I like how gold for oil is being touted. I hope we don't turn around at any point to say, oh, this and oh, that. But I've heard that in recent times, soon to come, prices may decrease by about 3%. And of course, any falls in fuel prices, very, very welcome. We suffered last year. We're still suffering, considering that at a point it stood at around 5 cedis, 6 cedis, 7 cedis. If we're paying above 13, 14 cedis currently, depending on when within this year, then it is only good if the prices keep falling. And that would also inure to the benefit of those who bought public transport. The transport operators likely would be dropping their prices. I think the last time I spoke to one of the deputy PROs, Samuel Amwa, he mentioned that once it falls to about 10% or 10 cedis, actually, then they would want to decrease their prices. Any final thoughts as we go? Hello, Ernest.
Yeah, hello, Ben.
Any final thoughts as we go?
Yes, I want to comment on the gold for oil. Finally, as I initially commented on, it shouldn't be a feature we have to live with for a very long time. And as you said, so we don't come up with some issues that probably when we begin facing challenges we'll be making. So we should be a bit careful, because already we are not active participants, or we don't really have a lot of ownership in the mining space. So the little amount of gold we are saving, or the reserves we are building, should also not all go into this oil for gold policy. We should be looking at shoring up our foreign exchange reserves rather, and have the economy get back on track.
Thank you, Ernest, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Ernest Ayesu is a mining engineer, and he joined us for this conversation. Thank you so much, sir. We move on, but right before we get into sports, I'm going to need a sip of water when all of this is done. And guess what kind of water I'm going to be drinking? I'm going to stay awake with Awake Premium Purified Water, which is treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you and refreshes me better. We have the perfect sizes for all purposes: 330 and 500 ml bottles, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. And guess what? Our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices. All you must do now is drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. So choose a bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water today and get quality, top-notch hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. And this is the part that busts my brain. It really warms the cockles of my heart, as someone would say. For every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center to help people who can't afford that treatment. It's another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. For bulk purchases, just reach them on 0262 351 251. This advert, remember, is FDA approved. But we brought you the news review this morning, courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering you free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. Where can you locate Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic? In Accra, Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. They are also in Takrade, Anaji Estate, Community 22 in Tema, Techiman Hansua, and Isiama in Nzima. You can reach them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, but only the start of sports. Yesterday, Liverpool locked horns with Real Madrid. Yeah, that's how they actually pronounce it in Castilian Spanish. So they actually had that interesting match, but Liverpool lost. Well, We have that coming up for you later in sports. But stay tuned. We have a special coming up next.
At first I was selling one, I was taking it one bag, then I added some drink, but now the drink is expensive and it's not moving. So what I did was, I need to take the Purita 2.5 bags, because the 2.5 bags, if I sell one bag, I get 4 cedis, 50%. Things is not easy. Things is not easy. Sometimes I will be on campus and my grandma will be like, Kobe, she needs money. Stop living fake life.
The sight of Ernest wearing a suit in the steamy hot afternoon weather at Kingsway Market excites many traders. They get so excited that they rush to him to buy his chilled water. Within minutes, his water is finished. With many other sachet water vendors around, it is right to assume that the traders prolong their thirst just to buy water from a man in a suit. Ernest carries on his head a pan filled with chilled sachet water. He holds in his left hand a leather bag for his money and a tray in the right. He proudly walks through the market, ready to quench the thirst of his customers.
At first I was selling one, I was taking it one bag, then I added some drink, but now the drink is expensive and it's not moving. So what I did was, I need to take the Purita 2.5 bags, because the 2.5 bags, if I sell one bag, I get 4 cedis, 50%. So when I sell more, then I decide, then I do what? I save this.
His style of selling is unique. While other sachet water vendors wear ordinary clothes, Ernest is dressed for success. He has successfully branded himself as the suit-wearing iced water vendor. He doesn't only get eyeballs fixed on his suit, he also makes more money.
You're welcome. As I started selling, my highest water I've sold is 28 bags.
In a day?
In a day. I started 10 a.m. and I closed 6:30.
Following the death of his parents, he struggled to put himself through school. He was admitted to Accra Technical University to fulfill his lifelong dream of becoming a building contractor. With no support and a family to care for, he started selling sachet water.
Sometimes the work that we do it online, and you haven't registered, you are not part of the students. So I consulted a friend, he said, you get 700 for me. So he also gave me 700 and I paid. The second semester, it's left with 1,000 for me to add up before I can continue the second semester. Then, so during the vacation, I started selling the water.
Despite his strategy, he makes marginal profits. It is not enough to take care of his tuition and accommodation fees.
Things is not easy. Things is not easy. Sometimes I will be on campus and my grandma will be like, Kobe, she needs money, she needs money. And what should I do? I need to come to the street and come and sell. And now the school fees has increased. I was thinking as you are moving forward, it will be reducing. Not knowing as you are moving forward, and it's also increasing. So at first I pay around 1,700 and now I'm paying 2,000. It has increased to 2,000. The hostel fee too has increased.
Ernest tries to send monthly stipends to his grandmother and 2 sisters back home in the village of Agunansaba. Despite his unique selling ability, he's unable to send money frequently. Balancing education with hawking water is daunting. Today, he has ditched classes just to make enough money to pay his tuition and accommodation fees.
This semester started, I was thinking of how to pay the fees, one, and where I would sleep. Because my uncle's place now, I can't always sleep in a car and also come to campus. So I need to do what? Work out, go to class and come to the street and sell. And I need to also pay the school fees, and that has become my headache now.
Ernest Entry says shyness doesn't cure hunger, so he would break his back to put food on his table. But he also has his hand wide open to anyone who would help.
Good morning, it's time for sports. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Let's start on a pugilistic note because it's Isaac Dogbe who is intensifying training ahead of his bout against Robaisi Ramirez on April 1. Now, Dogbe lost 2 fights in his career to Emmanuel Navarrete and some flaws were identified. His assistant trainer, Patrice Harris, has been speaking about how they will rectify those flaws.
We don't change anything we was doing. We just pretty much add to it. And a lot of things we were getting on him about is just fighting emotional. Like, you know, like if you get hit by something, you know, you just don't show that. Oh, you know, you want to get back on anything. It's, you know, like I said, it's a plan for that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in boxing, if you get hit, you can't let a man know you hurt or anything. You know, you just with Isaac, we have to in the gym. Sometimes we have to calm down because like he can be working and, you know, get hit with something and just kind of lose it. Now you want to fight. Like, you know, boxing, it ain't about fighting. You know what I'm saying? It's you know, it's about being strategic. You know what I'm saying? Not just losing your head or stuff. So it was just little things like that. You know, calm down, kind of settle him down. But you know, I mean, he was always good. We just had to add to it. But I just think after those 2 losses to Navarrete, he was kind of broken though, you know what I'm saying? But he slowly, but surely got everything back in order. And like I said, we still working with him on it. But he's if you watch a few of his last fights, he's doing different things. He's thinking now. You know, instead of just kind of just rushing out there doing anything. Now he's making things count. Like instead of throwing mindless punches, he's taking his time, he's placing his shots, shooting the shots he needed to shoot instead of just, at first when he came, he was just like, it's just a few things we had to correct. But I mean, overall, I thought his, whoever had him, which was his dad or whatever, I thought he did a great job with him as far as, his skills and things like that. We won't take credit for like we showed him everything, but we add to what he was, what he had in him. We just kind of add to it and just try to make him better.
From boxing, let's talk about football because FIFA Director for Africa, Gelson Fernandez, wants the Ghana Football Association as well as the government to do more to help Ghana do very well in major competitions. This follows his 2-day visit actually in the country to monitor what the Ghana Football Association as well as the government is doing in terms of football. Remember, for about 5 years now, Ghana has had some roller coaster time in terms of football. You talk about COVID-19. You also talk about the number 12 Armial Anas expose. But Gelson believes that Ghana still has got a lot more to do in order to get to the top of football.
When you have a normalization committee, it's not a nice thing for FIFA. For us, it's a defeat because, of course, it takes time to restructure, but at the same time, you cannot invest in the country. So it's very tough when you come out of that. Then you have a new executive committee. Not easy at all. You come and take pathway, you see where you stand, which administration you have, what you can do, what you cannot do, which financial possibilities you have. I'm not talking about Ghana, but sometimes you come out of restriction, so it's not easy at all. Then we had COVID, which for football development was very tough. Of course, FIFA, we tried to support every member association the best way we could, also in financial aspects, so they could restart again, because no sponsorship will come during that period. Luckily, the federation could qualify themselves for the World Cup. I would not say luckily, but luckily because it's a good opportunity. But I think you fought as a country, and I need to put pressure in every member association to have tournaments and to have league for youth football, and everywhere in the country, in each regions, which is start to be the case here in this country. So I think they're in a good way. They have still a lot to do. They have expectation as well from the country, because country is you have 30 million of fans of football, so which is not easy. Some work to do. My team, we are here to support. We will also push the federation, because this is our job. But what I see here, it's that things are being taken seriously, and that work has been done. Staff is present, competence is there as well. Sometimes you need also financial support, of course, because without that it's very difficult to compete. Others are working as well. Don't think that only Ghana is working, because from my point of view in Africa, others are starting to really work, and they are having success. And in other parts of the world as well, they are working and they are pushing. So this is for women's football, this is for men's football in general, but you know, the federation has key targets which we identified and which we need to work on.
Now, for Ghana to be formidable at major tournaments, they will have to qualify for the tournament first. Exactly a week today, Ghana will play Angola in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. Black Stars coach Chris Hughton, he has already named his 25-man squad, but the squad is devoid of any home-based player. Now, Executive Council member of the Ghana Football Association, Oduro Safu, believes at the moment, no current home-based player deserves a call-up. There's more in the following report by my colleague, Lawrence Baidu.
Hughton named his first squad of 25 players since being appointed as the head coach of the senior national team. Ghana will face Angola in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, with the first leg set for March 23 at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium in Kumasi, and the return leg will come off 4 days later in Rwanda. In recent years, players on the local scene are given invitation into the Black Stars team during matches or tournaments. At the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, Asante Kotoko goalkeeper Danlad Ibrahim and then Hearts folk forward Efriye Banye were included in the team. However, this time around, no home-based player will be involved in the national assignment, raising concerns about player quality in the country. But Oduro Safu believes the players squad up are currently playing better than the home-based players.
Look at the players that have been invited, and then put them together, juxtapose them against those locals that you think they should play. They are not there. So here is a case, we have the under-23, the local blaster, the under-20s, and we are building them to take over in future. So most of the players out there, some came from under-20, some came from under-23. So that is it. I think I have nothing against the selection of players. Blaster call-ups are based on your performance for a period. And I'm asking you that if we have so many players in Europe and their performance are good, juxtaposed against the local players here, they are a shade ahead of them. What do you want us to do? You cannot say because, like Mr. Kwesi Atechi said some time ago, that the call up to the national team is not a local assembly where you have quota. There's no quota. And until we decide that there should be a quota, maybe 30% should be local players, so be it.
Chris Hughton will hope to start on a good note against Angola. Ghana are top joint of Group C with 4 points from 3 games in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. A win will see the Black Stars go 3 points clear of Angola ahead of the second leg in Luanda.
So the last 8 of the UEFA Champions League this season is set. You could see the Bayern Munich, Manchester City, Benfica, AC Milan, Chelsea, Napoli, Inter Milan and Real Madrid. So we've got 3 Italian clubs, AC Milan, Inter Milan and Napoli. We've got 2 English Premier League sides, Chelsea and Manchester City. 1 German side, Bayern, 1 Portuguese side, Benfica, and 1 Spanish side, Real Madrid. Europa League competition resumes tonight as well. Manchester United, they travel to Spain to face Real Betis. And also Arsenal, they take on Sporting CP at the Emirates. We hope to see what happens in those particular games. We'll bring you the latest in those games on Joy Prime. Sports on Prime actually tonight at 8:30 p.m. My name is Harun Mubarak, and that's all for Sports on the AM show.
That you direct that the House set up a bipartisan commission to investigate or verify the claim he's made. Would I plead with you now to direct that we set up the committee, since he knows that without this information, so that we set up the committee to investigate this? Well, leader, let's give it a thought. Leadership will take decision on. Mr. Speaker, in the course of President Akufo-Addo's administration, 2 important mines have been brought back into operation. The Obuasi mine in 2019 and the Bibiani mine, Mr. Speaker, which has been under care and maintenance for 7 years, is now engaged in production. And very soon, there are going to be 4 other additional mines. We're going to have the Cardinal Resources Namdini mine, Mr. Speaker, which is going to produce 300,000 ounces of gold within the next 15 years. The Speaker, Newmont is constructing a 3rd mine at a cost of $1 billion United States dollars. Azuma Resources Ghana Limited is also expanding its operations and is going to cost them about $200 million investment. And Mr. Speaker, we have begun for the first time in this country to explore for lithium. Mr. Speaker, Petrus Mine, Newmont Ahafo, Golden Star Resources are all expanding their operations. Honourable Minister, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, just a minute. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, on that occasion, on that fateful occasion, on 8th March, Mr. Speaker, the President demonstrated to this country that the state of the Ghanaian nation is in good health, is in capable hands, and in times of crisis, Mr. Speaker, you need outstanding leadership. And the Ghanaian people have that leadership in President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, of greater concern is the conferring of national honors on Frontier Healthcare Service Limited, a company whose ownership is opaque and whose formation and operations was brought into being by a contract that Parliament is yet to be apprised of for so-called national security reasons, of which most Ghanaians are of the opinion that Ghanaians were fleeced of their mega resources during the pandemic. If these awards were meant to recognize hard work, dedication, and commitment towards the maintenance and advancement of the state with reference to COVID-19, then the frontline health workers who worked extended hours, sacrificed their lives and health to ensure that several others did not die, should have been awarded instead of mere mention of their work. Some 6,543 of them who actually contracted COVID-19, with some dying in their line of service, are still waiting to be paid those mega insurance packages promised them since the year 2020. Their awards wait in perpetuity, even as we hurriedly confer national awards on those whose actions are yet to be justified before a parliamentary committee of inquiry. The minority in Parliament believes that awardees, including the Minister for Health, the Minister for Information, and others cited in the Auditor General's audit of COVID-19 funds and other undeserving awardees should be stripped of their national honors in order to maintain the sanctity of the awards. Otherwise, we risk a situation in which deserving Ghanaians will shun the awards altogether. Inasmuch as the minority agrees with the principle of duly recognizing the effort of deserving awardees, we are of the opinion that yesterday's event lowered the high standards previously set and maintained by previous awardees by commingling deserving and undeserving awardees at the event. For the first time in our history, persons whose conduct are currently being probed by Parliamentary Committee of Inquiry were publicly decorated with high honors in a desperate attempt by the President to finalize the corruption clearing process that he began during the message of the State of the Nation address in Parliament. The sensibilities of Ghanaians are ever being tested by this government, and it beats the imagination of reasonable Ghanaians how a minister who, not so long ago, was investigated for the manner in which he flouted our procurement laws to award overpriced contracts for procurement of Sputnik V in what looked like an underhand dealings to defraud the state, was given the high honor of the Order of the Voter. Equally disturbing was the fact that at that same event, the Minister for Information, who was cited by the Auditor General for having made unauthorized allowances payment to staff of his office during the pandemic, was also publicly stripped in the high honors of the Order of the Voter, even before his conduct and misconduct is fully investigated and cleared by the Parliamentary Committee of Inquiry.
At the time when I went to the ministry, right, I was so bogged up with trying to negotiate with Gavi and our donors to actually continue to give us vaccines whilst we started paying for the arrears. We inherited over $15.8 million equivalent in vaccines. There was shortage of vaccines, and we even had recorded close to about 358 infections in that particular year, 2016. I have statistics here. Mr. Speaker, it's a very serious, public interest issue. The assurances I will give, and I can give for the first time in the chamber here, that this will not happen again. And I will advise that you help me in my advocacy to get adequate funding for vaccines, even the health insurance budget, right? So when we meet with committee, they have always been talking about it, and even in the chamber, it has come up, so that if Parliament approves adequately for us, we always have our budget well-defined, we'll be able to supply. And I'll assure you that whatever challenges that happened, I don't think we're going to face these possible challenges any longer. And I'll stand here and assure the House that within the 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we will get vaccines, possibly even probably before that. Even probably before that. See, I can't lay my hands on specific dates, but even probably before that, we may get the vaccines, probably even earlier than the 3 weeks that I'm talking about. Throughout the period, we made close to $6.4 million equivalent to UNICEF, who supplies us the vaccines.
I would like to state categorically that this government has built more roads than any government in the history of the Fourth Republic. And Mr. Speaker, the details of all these roads are attached in the annex to his message, and he attached it to his message. Mr. Speaker, this statement made by His Excellency the President was factual, the statement was credible, The statement was dependable. Yes. The statement was incontestable. Yes. The statement was undisputed. Yes. The statement was introvertible. Yes. And above all, Mr. Speaker, the statement is verifiable by anybody who cares. Mr. Speaker, that statement on the road sector made by His Excellency, the President, is backed by empirical data which is available at Ministry of Roads and Highways. And Mr. Speaker, I challenge any member of this House, I challenge any member of this country, and Mr. Speaker, I can go further to request that if anybody is in doubt, this House can set up an independent bipartisan committee to investigate at my ministry the facts of the data, and that the President, under his leadership, has done more work in the road sector.
That in the case of APEP, it did come to our notice through the Ghana Investment Promotion Authority that we're having some such problems. And even though they did not write to us directly, we did write to them through the GIPC. That about 3 weeks, 1 month ago. We still not heard from APEP, but we are ready to deal with them because it appears to us it's a clear case of dumping, which really goes against the rules of fair trade. And we can look at it and then apportion the right remedies to enable them to stand on their feet again.
What are these remedies? I mean, what can your commission actually do about the situation?
Okay, we do sanction what we call the anti-dumping duty, which then raises the duties at which makes it more easy for them to come in terms that it cuts the difference between the pricing. So, like for instance, they are bringing their goods in the country at say 10 cities, and it's selling in their country at say 15 cities. We are able to raise the difference between the 10 and the to make it 5, to make it comparable to what is sold in the country here. So that is from in this case, from what we learned, even though both APEP and this Chinese industry get some of their raw materials from a particular point in China, this Chinese company is able to put us at a much cheaper rate than what APEP is doing. So they're able to sell cheaper than APEP, which of course is very unfair. It's part of the unfair trade practice.
But I can speak from the perspective of the ministry that the ministry is aware of this situation, that President Europa has 1 or 2 issues with regards to accessing funds from Exim Bank and also trying to get markets and to do business. And then for us as a ministry, we are ever ready 100% to receive issues from any business that is part of the 1D, 1F policy. And government is prepared to help in that direction. If there's the need for government to go the extra mile to be able to help you to thrive in business or to succeed in business, government will not hesitate at all. We'll do our best, to be able to get you access to market, which is very important, and try our best to make sure that if you are not using equity funds to do business and you need a facility from any of our participating financial institutions, government will also intervene and help in that area.
We will first of all thank you for using due process to get your issue resolved. We have received it and we will forward it to the Speaker. And I'm sure that when he returns, he would take the necessary action.
Quite regrettable that our fathers who should be enjoying their retirement and who should be inviting us to come for some ideas, some wisdom as to how to help in the governance of our country are going through what you are going through. We want to assure you that we are in solidarity with you, we empathize with you, we are here as your servants. So be rest assured, as my honorable colleague has said, this petition is immediately going to the Right Honorable Speaker's office. When he returns from official assignment, we will follow up to make sure that he has received it and he is working on the petition. As you all know, Speaker Bagbin is particular about petitions from the general public, and he attaches all the importance that should be attached to petitions. So we have no doubt that the Right Honorable Speaker, upon his return, will give your petition all the attention and all the seriousness that your petition requires.
A group of workers that were laid off or retrenched in cocoa board in the year 1993-1994 were not given enough package. So we petitioned the court, and court granted its judgment in 2019. But when cocoa board in the year 2020 started paying, the amount of money that they paid was still not enough. We have done everything within our power to let them pay us. Cocoa board is not paying attention. We have nothing to do. All we have to do is petition the government to intervene. In actual fact, we are asking for a probe because we know government has given cocoa board officials the money to pay us, but they have slashed the figures down. The amount of money that we pay was not acceptable. So we want a probe. In fact, there's a formula of working about that. But because they think we don't know the formula, they just then use fictitious formula to result in this figure, and they give you. When you petition them, I used a personal letter to them, and the result that came was not acceptable. So I did the calculation myself and sent it to them and asked them to respond. Or in the letter, I stated that I'll ask government to step in to probe them. In the nutshell, what they do is they shift the decimal point 3 decimal places to the back. So the 498 cities should be 498,000. It's a matter of shifting the decimal point 3 decimal places to the back to everybody. This is what they did. And when we complained, they were shocked. So they decided paying some compensation, thinking that would be enough, but still not enough.
A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. I'm Bernice Apubedu-Lansa. Earlier, you saw snippets from Parliament while the House was debating the President's State of the Nation address. This morning, we've been joined by MP for Tamale Central, Murtala Mohammed. Just to indicate that we reached out to the New Patriotic Party for a representative, but we didn't receive any. So Murtala Mohammed will be our only guest this morning. Great to have you here. How are you doing? Great. And you've been busy, and for you as an individual, and I'm sure you're standing again, right, in your constituency. Your party has asked you to suspend campaigning to get the job done in Parliament.
Well, it is not only members of Parliament, but where we have incumbent MPs. The party expects us to play a particular role in Parliament.
Right.
So it would be fair if they suspend campaigning in those constituencies. If not...
But will this not disadvantage you?
It would disadvantage both candidates, because even those who are not sitting MPs, who are contesting sitting MPs, are not allowed to campaign.
Okay, that's
and that is so exactly. So, because if the party expects you to be in Parliament working, you'll be working and then your opponent will be campaigning in the constituency. I think that would be unfair. But where we don't have incumbent MPs, the directive doesn't apply in those constituencies.
So you're ready, you're poised to sacrifice your personal, because that's how you put it. You know, it's almost as if you're saying, oh, we have the nation at heart. Another way for you to score points, isn't it?
No, for party and country. I don't think that there is any way to score points. I really would love to be in the constituency, engaging the people. Even before this contest, I had a program of going around the constituency. I go to my constituency every other week. But for 2 weeks now, I haven't been there because of the directive. Sometimes committee meetings, you meet even on Mondays, and also representing the party. The past 2 weeks, I have been engaged in some of these political programs on weekends. So if you have it on Saturday, Sunday you can't go because on Monday you have another program. So that is just the difficulty.
And your party requested this because there are key issues in Parliament to be discussed. And for your party, I think the most important is the new ECCI, which, we saw the EC chairperson in the House. The majority leader says, look, minority, if you have issues, you know the channels to address them. You can stop us from debating this. You can stop us from considering it to be passed. Have you started any processes beyond your pronouncement in the House about your disagreement with the new ECCI? If
the majority leader thinks that Parliament cannot stop the Electoral Commission from doing what they want to do, then why is the Electoral Commission in Parliament? The Electoral Commission is not an authority to itself. The Electoral Commission's responsibilities and functions are done for and on behalf of the people of this country. And therefore, the Constitution of this country cannot give the Electoral Commission and the commissioners a carte blanche that they can do what they want at any point in time. I'm not a member of the Subsidiary and Legislative Committee, but when the Electoral Commission came there first for the pre-laying, the pre-laying is to indicate what you want to do with regards to the amendments. But let me also quickly state that there is nothing wrong with Electoral Commission or commissioners seeking amendment to an existing CI. This is not the first time. We have had such amendments done in the past. But anytime the Electoral Commission is seeking such amendments, they must provide justifications why they think that the existing CI ought to be amended. The Electoral Commission can decide that even the existing CI, we need to take it out. And they don't decide that in isolation. They do that with the various, in consultation of the various stakeholders, in this case, the political parties. Now, when the Electoral Commission appeared before the Subsidiary and Legislative Committee, they were represented by the two deputies. And the person I know who happened to be my former lecturer is Dr. Bosman Asare, and the other deputy, Siribwayim, the entire Electoral Commission, except the chairpersons of the Electoral Commission. And I remember, we wanted to find out why they were seeking the amendment.
This was before the committee?
Before yes. They came before the Subsidiary and Legislative Committee for the pre-laying. Now, they said that they wanted, in fact, they were seeking a lot of things. But a lot of things that have escaped people, and I have listened to the analysis that are complete. People are just concentrating on just 3 items. One, to make the Ghana card the sole document that will be used for evidential proof for citizenship before a person can register. 2, to also ensure that the guarantor system, where you can vouch for somebody who is, vouch for his citizenship or her citizenship, should be taken out. And also the registration be done at the various EC offices. There's another aspect. They're also seeking that the electoral officer has the right to determine where registration be done. And that is one thing that I haven't heard a lot of people discuss. And I wanted to find out the basis on which they were challenging the validity of the other documents which were used in the past for the purposes of registration, i.e. the birth certificate and the Ghanaian passport. And I was shocked to hear Bosman Asare and co say that because they can't vouch for the credibility of the birth certificate and the Ghanaian passport because there are evidences that some foreigners, possess the Ghanaian passport and then the birth certificate. That was the lamest excuse I could hear. So we pointed out to him that there are evidences of foreigners holding the Ghana card. And in fact, we also wanted to find out from them whether they were aware that the NIE and the Ghana police... But
foreigners can have a Ghana card. Just
I'm coming. I'll come.
It's indicated what their nationality
Yes, I'll come to that.
I'll focus on the most topical issues in the country. The last time I had you here, the big question was, what's the purpose for all of this? And you were very frank in telling us about the need to create policy, drive conversation, and help in policy formulation. But tell us about this particular breakfast meeting and why you chose the topic that you did.
See, I took a deep breath, and thank you very much for it, the opportunity. I guess as we speak now, if you speak to 10 Ghanaians, the most critical things that you would pick out of 9 of them will be the issue of the value they have for their money. In other words, the economy. Again, it will dovetail into the bigger conversation around debt and the current situation that we all know we are facing. So we chose the domestic debt program, exchange program, and lessons as in how we invest. For the simple reason that deep into the conversation are issues around how government itself, the people of Ghana, and virtually everybody who is part of this economy has been part of a problem that has been created, or how do we get out of here, where we all play a part in the conversation. So we chose this because we've never found it necessary to do things that are not topical, because you want people to be part and parcel of the conversations you're having, and you want that to be part of the conversations that would influence policy. And that's how come this time we focus on domestic debt, the exchange program.
And from your perspective, what exactly is the reason?
Like you said, you see, after the financial sector cleanup, there was a lot of misgivings about the whole exercise, and then that affected the perceptions people have about investments.
Right.
People were very averse to it. This has also happened, and it's creating a lot of what do you call it? What should I say?
Apathy.
Yes, so people don't want to really invest. They are not very sure about where they have to invest their funds. And we don't need to create that kind of thing within an economy. If you read our paper today, Dr. Sedo was saying that in spite of all these things that are happening, T-bills and bonds are the safest that we still have. Is that something that the public would want to hear? No.
Is it something they will trust?
Yes. So that's why we've assembled experts to come and explain to us what the real issues are and to restore confidence in people.
Let me just remind our audience about the topic for the breakfast meeting: domestic debt exchange, lessons and implications for how you invest. And this is the first this year. We're doing this year. For 2023. So just let us know. I know, as always, you get the best to digest the issues, but run us through the people who will be speaking and why it is important that we hear from them.
Okay, so this time we have as our chairperson, Ms. Abena Amwa is the chairperson of the managing director of Ghana Stock Exchange. She will chair the event. And then we have Reverend Daniel Ogbami Tete as another speaker. He will speak on one perspective, that what is the role of investments in the national development agenda. And then we have one from academia, Professor Ebo Texin, who also speak on triggers for the DDEP and then the lessons. And then we have Dr. Daniel Sedo, who will talk about what is the future of investments in Ghana, among others.
Interesting. So how do we become a part of all this?
Well, Joy definitely would be part of the conversation. So when you say we, I'm sure you mean the viewers and listening public. And then on both the graphic social media handles and Stanbic social media handles would also be broadcasting. And then we believe that by joining with your conversations, your comments and so on.
But what if I want to be there? I mean, want to experience it. Is there a way around it?
Fact of the matter is, it's a limited conversation, in quotes, in the sense that the space will be limited. But it's a hybrid event where we have some select people be invited, and then the general public can join us virtually. Yes.
Yeah, and Graphic Business will also be streaming it, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll be streaming it, like you said, on all our social media platforms.
And if people have questions, will they be answered in real time? Because sometimes people just don't want to be spectators. They want to be involved. They have questions. There's a lady who calls our station almost every day to inquire about when the individual bondholders who did not sign on to the program are going to be paid. And it tells you the level of desperation. People have questions they want answers to. And every time she calls, she can't speak English. So she actually says, hello, mommy. And surprisingly, I'm the one who always answers the call. So it's like, monka brofo, but monka tree, but, you know, and then she's concerned. So will our questions be answered in, is it interactive enough?
So that I don't over-promise. I believe that if they send them ahead of time, it makes it much, much easier. Okay. Then we have a stock of questions that we know must be addressed, and they'll be tackled. Okay,
so you can get onto Facebook page, find Stanbic Ghana, find Graphic Business, and leave your questions there. You can send them a message, and I'm sure that they would include that in the questions they have to their guests. You just saw the people there who are well-versed in the matters that are going to be discussed on the day. So when are we going to have this date, time, venue, Mr. Benoni?
So it's on Tuesday, 21st, 8 a.m. It's a breakfast show, so it's 8 a.m. We start 10, we are done. It's just a 2-hour thing at Labadi Beach Hotel.
Okay, from 8 to 10 a.m. Yes. So it will be live on this channel as well, so you can make
So those who come in early, around 7, they'll have time to have their breakfast before the event starts at 8 o'clock.
Right, okay. And this is on the 21st of March, so just keep that locked there. I'm sure you will get some answers, especially for those of you who still have hope and want to invest. You will be given pointers and know where exactly to invest. But wrap-up comments?
Comments? On the notes where you said for those who have hope. Remember, hope must spring eternal. We should all have hope. The society will bounce back. If you followed a few of the points that Charles made, Treasury bill rates are down. Interestingly, we are waiting to see it being translated in the Bank of Ghana policy rate and a few more. And I'm sure we would all see the effect of what we have gone through.
So it's not all gloomy?
No. Sometimes we need a shot in the arm. It could be with water, or it could be with some other kind of IV.
Some definitely,
we've had a shock. I'm sure Ghana, being Ghana, will bounce back, and we are on the way to bouncing back.
Yeah, my last word is say that it's not a hopeless situation. I mean, it's tough times as we all find ourselves in, but we know with the experts coming to tell us where to really invest, I'm sure they will restore confidence in the economy.
So you know where to be or what to watch on the 21st, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. is the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting. It's on domestic debt exchange lessons and implications for how you invest. It reminds me of an interesting conversation we had about investments when this happened. But I'm sure you will learn something. You will, be shown what to do so that you can also protect yourself even amidst the chaos. You're still watching the AM show. Thank you, gentlemen, for passing through. Kojo Labi is Manager Comms, Stanbic Bank, and Mr. Charles Benoni Okine is Assistant Editor for Graphic Business. You're still watching the AM show. I have a conversation on a special program by the Alliance for Women in Media Africa. You don't want to miss that. Do stay.
Who are those ones?
It's a pleasure to still have you here on the AM show. Just gone by, I had a discussion on the Graphic Business Stanbic Breakfast meeting, which will happen later this month. But there's another program you should look forward to tomorrow, being organized by the Alliance for Women in Media Africa, ALMA, and I've been joined by its convener, Shamima Muslim. I'm sure you know that name, and she's here to tell us more about it. Good morning to you, Shamima. Thank you for joining the program.
Hello, Bennett. Good morning. And how are you?
I'm doing great. Hope
Bennett,
you are.
Are you coming? Are you coming?
Yes, I am.
If I don't see you, I'll charge you.
But Shamima, this is exciting. It's been an exciting few weeks for us as women, celebrating International Women's Day. But you chose to take it a step further. We are having a conversation about equity for women in media, a very important one. And the big question is, who cares? What prompted this conversation?
Well, you know that we've been having these engagements. I mean, in fact, ALMA was set up solely for the purpose of advocating for greater visibility, greater representation, and greater impact of women in media. And that was because a survey of the media landscape showed us that, well, we were seeing increasing numbers of women in the media and the newsrooms at the base level, at the entry level. But as the pyramid tapers towards, leadership, management, and executive positions, we're seeing many more women fall off, in the organogram. So we asked, why is this happening? So in 2017, we got some support and we published a study. We did a national survey on the status of women in the Ghanaian media. We published a report in 2019. We did the stakeholder engagement forum in 2020. And we got a certain baseline information which was now supposed to help us in the advocacy. So we looked at the profile of women in media. We looked at their educational background. We looked at salary disparity between men and women. We looked at leadership level. We found, for instance, that only 1% of women were in top executive positions in media houses. So this year we decided to take the conversation a little further to now ask media owners and management, what can you do to bridge this equity gap in the media industry, especially so when the face of Ghanaian media is feminine.
And for me, what is exciting, Shamima, about this program is not just going to be a talk shop. You're also having a mentoring session for young girls who hope to work in the media someday, or even young professionals who are yet to start their full-blown careers. And you have some 3 notable personalities who are going to be having these mentoring sessions. Just tell us why this is important for young girls and who their mentors are going to be.
You see, Ben, even for someone like me who was always interested in media, who started from Radio Universe, when I started working in the NGO field, I didn't take a deliberate decision to join the media. Do you see? I didn't even think that I wanted a career in the media or I was capable of doing well in the media. And this is because of the absence of mentorship programs that could have perhaps even identified that, that you have a certain potential, so you should pursue it. So until somebody saw me on TV doing punditry work, I wouldn't have possibly even applied to join any media. And the rest is history. You know the impact I was able to make in the media within the few years that I found myself in active media. So we are saying that there's a lot both women can do deliberately in envisioning a media career for themselves and preparing themselves to be productive and efficient in the media. So we are bringing women who have walked the path. Gifty Auntie, we know she's been doing this work for over 20 years. We have Marian Akolate. He has been through almost all the major media houses in the newsroom, building, women. We have Regina Samoa of Atinka FM, who has been leading a lot of media gender advocacy work. We have Kocha Gabo, who is the GJA 2022 Ghana Journalist of the Year. They have a story to tell. And there's no need young girls repeating mistakes of the past when you have people to guide you to better shape your media career and be impactful in the time that you find yourself in the media space. So that's why we're doing this mentoring session today.
So what time is this mentoring session? And I know that someone may feel like it's too late. Is it too late? If not, how do they join your program?
So yes, it's too late now to join the program at the physical venue. But I'm happy to announce that we will be streaming the entire program live on the Joy FM Facebook page and also on the Alliance for Women in Media Facebook page. So you can join us on those platforms at exactly 1 o'clock. The mentorship session will start from 1 to 2:30, and we'll take a quick short break for them to refresh themselves. and then we regroup for the main forum, which is from 3 o'clock to 5. We have a panel. We have, speakers like Professor Audrey Gadekpo, Elizabeth Otini. We have the political counselor from the Canadian High Commission, Grace Lee. They will all be sharing vital, information and a call to action. We're going to end with a call to action for media owners, media managers, board members to be more conscious of the powerful platform they have and to be committed to ensuring that our media is representative so that we can represent the voices, the stories, the images of women in a fair and sufficient manner this week.
And the keynote speaker is Dr. Charity Binka, Executive Director for
another
Women.
Veteran politician, I beg your pardon, a veteran journalist who's been in the women and gender activism space for over 3 decades. So she has, a wide range experience to touch on all on practice, on policy, on advocacy. So she's going to give us, a reflection sort of, and to challenge us. She will present to us the picture we have and make a case for why equity is good for business. People don't understand what do you mean by equity? But there are a lot of women in the media. But if you look at the statistics, you will see that no, we are not even minding a quarter of the potential of women in the media. And I'm saying that if the faces and the images and the voices of women are good for our screens, are good for our radio set, then the same voices and images must certainly be good for the boardroom, for the executive, meetings, so they can make vital contributions. If you think that there's a lack of leadership potential in many women, what should you do as a family? If you have a child that you think needs a little bit of support, you must invest in building the leadership potential of those who have shown competency in the core task of doing their journalism work. Leadership can be learned, and if organizations are committed to grooming leaders, then they must identify potential women and groom them to grow within the organizational ladder. That is a progressive media organization, if you ask me.
I like the point about identifying and grooming. So how is Alma hoping to do this, even as you look forward to making this more than an event, to a more continuous mentor-mentee relationship?
Exactly. So we're going to be rolling out these mentorship sessions throughout the year. I'm also happy to announce that just last week we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Kofi Annan ICT Center of Excellence. What the project is supposed to do is to help us identify women within the media industry across the country and offer them training in digital inclusion, digital skills, audiovisual skills, just so they can build greater capacity to be confident that they can take up leadership positions within newsrooms and they will still be able to deliver. So we're going to do that. We're also still exploring new partnerships with, development partners, funding agencies to support this agenda. And I'm seeing an increasing interest within, the diplomatic community and some funding agencies. MTN is supporting us, with this project. They all realize that there is value to the cause that we are charting. And without the necessary resources and tangible interventions to build these skills, we will not be able to, achieve our goal. Let me also say that we need our male allies on board, and we also need the male editors and leaders and owners to sit around these conversation tables. You would hear today a survey we did asking women in media how they feel about their organization. Every organization needs to have these kinds of 360-degree feedback sessions. How do your staff members really feel? Is there a positive, effective commitment to the organization? Are they unhappy with with the organizational culture and climate and practices? How does that affect productivity? How does that affect, longevity in your organization? Media organizations sometimes sadly to say do not engage best corporate practices at all. And it's sad because we are always holding people to account, but we hardly want to be held accountable for anything. And we think that should stop and we should be able to imbibe more progressive, best corporate practices to build safer workspaces, inclusive workspaces, representative workspaces. It's certainly going to be good for business.
This is very exciting, Shamima, and thank you so much for putting this together. And hopefully later today, when we all meet at the Media Center MTN House, it will be a lot of learning and interaction and unlearning as well, because sometimes you've been introduced to certain things that you need to shrug off. But thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it. Shamima Muslim is convener of the Alliance for Women in Media Africa, putting together this program focusing on equity for women in media, and we are asking the question, who cares? The interesting thing is that it's not just going to be a talk shop. It's later today, and you're going to have mentors. You've seen them on your screens, who are going to be taking young people through what they wish they knew before joining the media, and they would also answer and address all your questions. So on Joy 99.7 FM and JoyNews Facebook pages, it will be streaming live, and the mentoring session will start at 1 p.m. and end at 2:30, and then the main program will start at about 2:43 p.m. To 5 p.m. So do make a date with us. And Shamima, congratulations once again for putting this together. And we will be getting interactive with you shortly. Benjamin Akakpo joins me right after this. Right, see who is back. Hello, Benjamin.
Hiya.
Hiya.
You're looking awesome.
Thank you.
I love your beads.
Thank you.
And everything.
Yeah, given to me by Ronnie Bruce GH.
Oh, I see. Where's mine? No, I mean from them.
Yeah. Sharing is caring.
Caring. I have enough beads on my own, though. I'm a lover of beads,
you do. But
Today,
you actually owe me beads.
I do. I'll give you some chevron beads.
Okay. Medase.
High end.
Medase. It's now time to get interactive with you. Today we've been talking about many issues happening in Parliament, the State of the Nation address, the reintroduction of the tolls, the new ECCI, the new ECCI, you know that's how he is, the new ECCI, the concerns by Alexander Apenyo-Marking, Deputy Majority Leader, about the number of seats in Parliament. But Murtala hinted that, surprisingly, the NPP, he claims, together with the EC, are trying to create new constituencies, and he was concerned that this may just be something for the cameras, and possibly as the days go by, we will see Mr. Apenyo-Marking supporting that initiative rather, which will see an increase in the seats instead of the reduction that he's proposing. I don't know what your thoughts are, but do call us and share your thoughts with us. The numbers will be scrolling on your screens. We've also been talking about the domestic debt exchange lessons and implications for how you invest, and that will happen much later in the month on the 21st of March at the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank meeting. We've also been talking about women in media.
Mm-hmm. And I had an encounter with Shamima a few days ago. She started talking about this, and the fact that, if I recall, at the very top of leadership, the higher echelons, when it comes to media, you'll find just about 1% or so of women in leadership positions. You'll find them, yes. I mean, here we do pretty well in terms of, but we could always do better. And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and it must be equity on all sides. And I think that it's a conversation that we must have. And she made a valid point about the capacity of women within the media space and whether they were able to assume or perform in these roles at the top level. And she did mention, though, that if you think that they are not cut for it, which is sometimes the excuse that we hear, then you should groom them for it. And she cited an example about having a child and wanting them to be something. You definitely will prepare them for it. What opportunities are given women so that once they get to the top, they would have gone through all those processes as well. So it's a very, very interesting conversation, if you ask me. I have a lot to talk about when it comes to women in media.
So do I on this. It just brings to mind, right before we engage you as well, Michelle, I think it's Michelle Yeoh, the first Asian female to win an Academy Award. You remember her, she's been in many action movies. Now, somehow Jackie Chan came into the conversation. You know why? She had that acting stint with Jackie. And, okay, so we have a caller. Ryan is on the line. Ryan, just give me a second. So Jackie Chan always does his stunts himself. And she was doing same, and it was telling her, no, you shouldn't be doing your stunts. And she was like, fine, person to be telling me to do that. And she says Jackie, unfortunately at a point said that women belonged in the kitchen.
I remember that.
And now she's won the Academy Award, and she says, well, all that changed when she kicked his butt. Anyway, Ryan, good morning. Thank you for patiently waiting.
Good morning, sir.
Could you speak up a little, Ryan?
Oh, no.
Oh,
Ryan, so sorry.
Oh no,
so sorry.
Ryan. So do us this favor. Call in. We're going to ensure that somehow you get patched through. Ryan, I don't think we've had Ryan on the show before.
I haven't heard his name.
The name is not. It doesn't ring a bell. So Ryan, if you're listening, please do call again. Be like Michelle Yeoh. Keep persisting.
Keep pushing. It's interesting. This conversation about women in media. I just can't wait for the conversations on what I wish I knew before joining the media. Because if you ask me that question, I have a lot of answers to give.
but even apart from getting to the higher echelons, there's also the question of equal pay for equal work, compensations. It is known that usually the men would get a lot more than the women. Fact. We have another caller on the line.
Up for us. Bawa is joining us from Wa. Hello, Bawa. Let's hear you this morning. Hello, Bawa.
Oh, what's happening?
No. We need to figure it out.
So we've lost Ryan, we've lost Bawa.
Yeah.
Ryan, please try and call again. Bawa, please do us the honors and try and call again. We'll work on our lines to ensure that we can engage you, because you know what? The show is all about you.
Exactly.
You were making a point.
Yeah, I was saying thank you for standing up for us. A lot of men know these things exist, but they aren't able to stand up
we
for
can't run away
female
from it.
counterparts.
It is a reality.
Thank you for standing up for us. And there's also the unfortunate perception about women in media. A lot of us don't like to talk about it, but it's a perception that is very demeaning. It's a very demeaning perception, especially a young girl who wants to be in the media space. Sometimes you're seen as just wanting it for the fame. It's like, oh, you just want to sit on TV because, no. We all want to see change. We all enjoy telling stories of people. I'll
tell you a story, but let's try and get to our next caller. Hopefully we don't lose this one. Hello, good morning. Hello?
No, I'm not sure we do have a call on the line. I think...
Hello?
Yeah, good morning.
Oh, okay. We do have a caller. Hello, please tell us who you are and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, good morning. This is Abindao from Kumasi.
Abindao. Let's hear you, please.
Yeah. I want to share my views on the road tolls reintroduction. Yeah. Actually, see, initially the road minister convinced us that with the introduction of the EDC, we will not go for INF, and our economy will bounce back. But now we are on the way to the INF, and the road tolls too is coming back. So she come and tell us to know whether the e-levy is also being scrapped off or he is maintaining it. Since he promised us that with the introduction of the e-levy, we will not go for INF, and the road tolls will be replaced with the e-levy. So he should come and make it known to us so that at least we know that this is the way forward, because this is what he promised us. And now that he's saying it, he should also let us know.
All right, thank you so much for calling us up and down. Sorry about the quality of sound there. There was just a bit of feedback, but at least it was clear enough to hear. So we will be taking you shortly for that event on the Mobile Technology for Development Conference. But Benjamin, you have a quick shout for somebody?
So we're wrapping up from here. This is from Selon Dramani. You say, help me wish a happy birthday to one of the hardworking nurses at the cardiothoracic ward at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Her name is Halimatu Abdul Rahman, aka Sadia. I wish her everything that she wishes for herself. So to Sadia, we wish you the very best on a day like this.
Right, and that'll be it from us. Thank you so much for inviting us to your homes, wherever you're watching us from. We really appreciate it. I'm Bernice Abubedu-Lanza, and he's Benjamin Akakpo, the man with the blunt thoughts. But we take...